Okay, we got you drank your coffee. Okay, this is the problem. We have been trying to get Christina's camera to focus on her
I tell you,
for
it's all right.
months now. It's what?
It's all right. It matches my personality.
We can see your shoulder very well. Your shoulder's very focused on. We've got the weird globby orbs around you. It's not ideal, my friend.
I know. I it's my third camera. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's maybe the lighting in our place. I don't know.
We have the same camera.
I know.
We have the exact
And
same
you're
camera.
like brilliantly in focus.
You were having problems before
And you know
with
what?
your
It's
other camera, so we upgraded to this camera so that it would be the same as mine.
yeah. I wonder though if it's a Zoom thing because when I actually check it on the Anchor app site, it's clear. It doesn't have the blobbies
Yeah,
behind. So I don't know if it's like when it's on Zoom that it does this. It doesn't make sense. I
I
have
know.
no idea.
You know what? We're gonna spend some more time figuring it out because we just haven't had time
I
to
know.
sit and just work on just figuring out how to focus you. So focus, Christina, focus.
Huh? What? What?
We had
What? Did
planned
you say
to,
something?
no, not at all. We had planned to work on it when I was in Vancouver for the last
I
three
know.
weeks, but we only got to see each other once. And then I was so exhausted when I drove into your house. You served me dinner and we sat on the couch. We did play a game though. That
We
was fun.
did
We played this versus that.
this or that. I know. That was so fun.
That was fun. I enjoyed
So
that.
it was nice. It was nice to see you.
It was so nice to see you. I wish I had had more energy and more time to actually come. I thought we were going to be seeing each other on the regular for the time
I
that I
know.
was there for
I
training for
know.
my new job. But
But it's tough because we were still like a good 45 minutes away from each other.
mhm.
And
It
you
was
were
an hour and a
training.
half when I came because it was through traffic. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got a good
So
taste of Vancouver traffic.
yeah. So I mean that puts a bit of a yeah, it makes it a little bit more challenging, right? And then you've had a long day and
Oh
you're
no.
tired and last thing you want to do is get in your car and do like a 2 hour, 2.5 hour return trip, you
It
know?
was worth it to spend a little bit of time with you guys. I mean, that was really nice. Like I said, I didn't feel like I had to come in and be on, like we
No,
weren't doing
never.
anything. It was just being home with family is what it
Yeah.
felt like. So it was
Cool.
nice for
Yep.
me.
Well, it was nice for us too. I'm glad you guys,
Thank you.
I'm glad you made it out for even that one day. And it was so
We
nice
did.
to see you and hang
We'll
for a
do it
bit.
again. We'll make sure that we take a couple of days and spend some time together. I mean, there's always a place for you here, and I know there's a place for me there.
Yes,
So,
always.
yeah.
So
So
cool.
here we are, back
Yes.
again.
Back again. It's been a while since we've recorded anything.
It has. It's kind of strange to me, but I'm having to get out of this whole um, mindset. I've been living in a hotel room for the past 3 weeks, coming home very briefly on weekends and then turning around and leaving immediately again.
Yeah.
Um, for training for my new job. I'm very
Yes.
excited about my new job and it's going well. So,
Good.
yeah, so that it feels good to have done it and have it
Mhm.
behind me and be moving forward and be able to settle in whatever I'm going to be doing with my new job starting Monday.
Yeah.
Um,
Nice.
but yeah, now we can hopefully get started on doing our routine again. We had to miss
Mhm.
last week, so there was no new episode for the first time since we started baking scraps, aside from our Christmas break.
Our Christmas break. Yeah.
Yes, but that was planned.
Yes. This one was not so planned, but
This time it was me saying, Christina, please put something out because I can't do it this week.
it's all good. It's all good.
We're only human. I'm only human.
Exactly. And I'm pretty sure, well, I mean, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure maybe it just gave people an opportunity to catch up on a previous episode, rewatch it again, or just tune into something that they hadn't seen yet, because we
Yeah.
have recorded a lot in the last bit.
Yes,
And yeah, so
we
there's
do.
lots for people to take in.
That's for sure. We have a lot. My son did not mention to me that the episode was missed last week, so that's good. He's the biggest fan, right? He's the one who's always like, "I'm listening to your new episode. It's really good."
Nice.
And I think he just didn't get a notification, so he forgot that we existed.
Uh, that's okay. That's
It
okay.
is fine. It's
Maybe everybody needed a break from us
fine. He's
last
one of our
week.
100 YouTube subscribers, actually.
Woo!
We have 100.
101 I saw. 101.
Okay,
Yes,
101. Hey,
101.
we need some more subscribers. Come on, guys. If you're not aware that we are on YouTube, you can see our beautiful faces, even though Christina's is not always in focus and mine is heavily filtered, so sometimes I don't have a nose or a chin.
No, you look fabulous, my dear.
Yeah, it's from the filtered. That's the plan.
I really need your filter.
Yeah. We just need you to be in focus.
Hmm.
Anyway, we do have a YouTube channel. Please go check us out and share it and encourage other people to follow Baking Scraps because, we're kind of fun. We have great guests, and it's almost nicer to watch us than to listen to us. I mean, it depends on what your preference is. If you're driving in the car, do not be
Don't
watching
watch
on
us.
YouTube. But you can see the background puppers just hanging out and looking cute, and
And you can have
Christina's
a drinking
vlogs.
game watching me, seeing when I'm in and out of focus.
I love that idea, actually. That's a great idea.
There you go.
Oh, she's out of focus. Okay, gotta have some coffee.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You choose what you want to drink.
I
Again,
will be
if you're
drinking coffee, at least
driving,
right now.
don't.
Yes, if you're driving, no drinking games, please. Anyway, so this week we have Jen coming
Yes.
back to join us again, which is pretty
That
awesome.
It is pretty awesome. We had a quick chat with her at the end of the finale episode of Great Canadian Baking Show season 8.
Hmm.
And it's nice to bring her back, get to know her a little bit more and kind of see what her life has been like since the
Hmm.
show, and her family and what else
Talk
gets her
about
up in the morning.
Yeah,
So
and talk about those 8 years of trying out for the show year after year and how it became an annual tradition for their family, I'm sure.
yeah. Yeah. And I bet you this season she's just a whole lot more relaxed.
I bet she is, although
Yeah.
I don't think she's any less busy. So,
No, I don't think so at all. But yeah.
well,
Yeah. No,
everybody, sorry, go ahead.
no,
Were you going to say what I was going to say?
I was gonna say what you were gonna say, so you may as well just say
Okay,
it.
everyone, please welcome Jennifer Childs. Welcome, Jen.
Jen, how
Hi.
are you?
Good, thank you. How are you guys?
Good,
Doing
good.
well.
Good to
Yes.
see you again.
Yes, absolutely. It was nice to finally get to meet in person at the open call.
I know that was so wonderful. It was so great chatting with you and so great that you made it out. I think that meant a lot, obviously, to me as the baker, but I think so many other people were so thrilled to have you be there and to bounce ideas off of you, to ask questions of you. And you were just so gracious and wonderful with everything, with everyone. So it was a super incredible pleasure for me to meet you. And I'm sure everybody else loved having those conversations with you as well.
Yeah, you
Oh,
were
thank
kept
you.
very busy.
Yes.
It was a very busy day, but it was so much fun. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how did that feel for you to come in as like, all right, this is the first time in like 9 years that I am actually not auditioning, not trying to show off who I am and what I can do, but just being like, hi everybody,
Yeah.
let me show you what you can do, or let me see what you can do.
I think the last couple years were actually a little more relaxed for me because I got to know the casting team, right? It was a
Yeah.
lot of the same people over all the years. So um, I think it didn't feel that much different than the last couple years, actually. And maybe that was part of why I finally made it on the show because I was more relaxed and I was just
Yeah.
more myself. I don't know. Uh, I mean, I still brought baking because that's kind of a
That's who
tradition.
you are.
And you brought
Um,
gum and that was
yeah,
brought a lot of goodies.
yeah.
Yeah, that
Well,
was great.
I know my way around the audition room now.
Yes,
So,
you do.
yeah.
So did you taste a lot of baking? Did you feel quite stuffed by the end of the day?
I tried to pace myself. Yeah.
Good.
And I ended up talking a lot more than tasting, which
Okay.
was great. Yeah, because it was more fun to get to meet people, I think,
Yeah.
and do that. And then of course there was some tasting. Yeah.
Yes. There
What
had to
an
be.
And what an incredible spread of goodies that you had opportunity to taste. There were so many great bakers. I mean, BC is well known for incredible bakers. And there were so many incredible displays of those goodies at the audition. So how did you choose which ones you wanted to try, or were there specific flavors that you were looking at, or particular things that you were looking at? I mean, the supply was like crazy amazing.
Oh yeah, it
Much
absolutely was. I
talent.
mean, because there was a few alumni there, I think we'd sort of point out things that we thought people should try. So
Mhm.
if someone else, really enjoyed something, I would try those, or even just people I ended up chatting with. And so you
Yeah.
get to hear the story behind the bake and then you want to taste it, of course.
Yeah.
So those were definitely the ones I tried. And and then some of the ones where they may not be super decorated, but then they ended up delicious. So those were kind of the nice surprises on the day. Um, yeah, it was a lot of fun just to see all the different creativity. I was a little disappointed because didn't get there right at the beginning. And I think some people that were really, really keen and had some awesome bakes were there first
Mhm.
thing. And so I missed those ones, which was too bad.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Were there any particular bakes that, thinking back now, that stood out for you that you're like, oh yeah, you know what, this one was really awesome?
Um, well, I mean, both of your bakes to start there were pretty awesome. Both in
Thank you.
decoration. And I
You know,
did
she had
actually,
to say that, right? We did pay her
Yeah,
before joining on the podcast.
just slipped a little money under the table there.
Yeah, little
well,
like,
and
oops.
you guys were at the end of the day, which I don't know if that's, a good strategy because you were sort of like left at,
Yeah.
most recent, there's a bit of recency bias. You can't go
Mhm.
wrong with that.
Yeah.
Um, but actually, Lisa, I didn't even get a chance to taste yours because I was talking too much. So
Yeah, that's
It was
okay.
delicious.
I'm gonna make another one because I was
it
really
looked
pleased with
beautiful.
how it turned out. Thank you. That I was really pleased with how it looked too. So that was great. But you did taste Christina's?
I did, yes. And
Good.
those kinds of really tart flavors are the kinds of things I love. So
Mhm.
yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, there was a couple mocha things that were really
Mhm.
lovely. I don't go for really sweet things, so I think they have to
Mhm.
be pretty well balanced for me.
Yeah.
Or a lot of icing isn't really what I like. So things that were, yeah, a little bit toned down on the sweetness, which mocha and citrus, those always help.
Yeah.
Um, I really, in my own decorating, I do a lot of really natural things, but I love being able to see when people do super clean, crisp decoration.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
really appreciate that. So there were a couple that were like that. There was one marbled ganache cake that was beautiful and also
Saw that one.
delicious.
Yeah.
Um, I loved, there's one, and I'm awful for names, so I won't remember any names. I apologize if anyone is listening, watching. There's one woman, and I loved the effort. She was all monochromatic pale yellow. So the cake was different yellows and lemony, and I think there's passion fruit as well. And then she also wore a gorgeous pale yellow coat. So yeah, I love a good theme taken to the
Hmm.
nth degree. So that was pretty amazing.
Oh, that's wonderful. Did you get to taste that pavlova?
Oh, I
That
did.
good.
Yes, yeah. The one it didn't quite
One that
last the day.
unfortunately, yeah, that fell apart. That was really
I
hard to see.
I saw it earlier in the day, so I got to see
Okay.
it in all its glory, and
And
yeah,
she
it
had
was
photographs of it.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
so
that was
unfortunate.
really hard to see it sitting there on the table and then be like, oh no, it's broken. It's starting to
Mhm.
slide. And they were out for lunch. And they
Yeah.
came back from lunch, and I saw the husband go to check on it at the table, and then a quite audible swear word came out of him, and I felt so terrible. But she said that she got some really good response from everybody who did taste it. So that was good. I think she felt a lot better about it because I know my heart just sank.
I know. And you know what I thought that moment
Mm.
where the husband had gone and had a look at it, and then how he went over and he kind of like consoled her. And that moment was so beautiful. And
Mhm.
in spite of, the
Disappointment.
the
Mhm.
disappointment, right? Like that's the last thing you want to happen to your bake. You've spent all this energy and time and money putting it all
Mhm.
together to bring it there to present. And you want to obviously present the best possible bake ever. And
Mhm.
then for
Yeah.
it to kind of go literally sideways on you is
Oh,
is so disappointing. But she had her support person there, and he was just so
mhm.
lovely and kind to her, and
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
and tried to be as um yeah, tried to be that shoulder for her in
Mhm.
that time of pure disappointment. But
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
so glad that she got great feedback too, because it did look incredibly delicious.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, it sounded like it was going to be really delicious. All right. So, Jen, we've talked before here on the
Yes.
podcast and in person. So it's weird because sometimes I'm like, I don't know what we've talked about in the past and what we've talked about that people have already heard. The episode that we did with the three finalists from season 8 of the Great Canadian Baking Show is, I think, the highest, the most viewed of all of
Yeah.
our videos, all
Oh,
of our
good.
podcast videos that we have. And so that was very exciting. So there's obviously a draw. People are very excited to hear from the three of you and from you yourself. I know I got a lot of really positive feedback on having you on our podcast. So I'm
Mhm.
super excited to have you back and be able to kind of focus a little bit more on just you because it's hard when we have three different guests. We're trying
Hmm.
to all talk over each other. Although maybe we should do it more often if it means we're getting more views on it. I didn't love doing it that way, but I was really grateful to have the three of you.
Yeah.
So you talked a little bit on our last podcast about how you got started in baking, which was basically just kind of always baking. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just a part of your life. And then you decided that you were going to try being on this baking show, but it was actually your sister, I believe. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think my sister's way more plugged into kind of just what's going on in the world, I think, than I am. And she just sent me a note and said, "Hey, they're, doing auditions and or they're, I guess, opening up applications." And she said, "Hey, you should apply." And so we both applied, which was fun.
And that was the
And
very first season.
yes,
Okay.
yeah, that was the very first season. I had never watched The Great British Bake Off, so I didn't know anything about it. And I had three very young kids. I think my youngest was about a year and a half. So we were pretty busy and applied and was invited to audition in Vancouver. Back then it was you did a live bake along, kind of like a technical challenge, but very simple, like biscuits or cookies. And you brought your decorative bake with you and yeah, and it was so much fun. And it was actually the same casting team or half the same casting team that they still have. And my sister also got to audition, so the both of us did. I think it would have been fun to have sisters on the show, just saying.
Yes.
Um,
It would be.
It would.
but yeah, so and I was in it, it feels like a very full circle because I was in the very first audition group that they did. So they started in Vancouver, and the very first group I was in was with James and Jude. So
Right.
That's right.
Yes.
yeah. So I really felt like I was kind of in it from the very beginning.
No kidding. Yeah, you and James and Jude sat at a table together, I think you said, and you were the three J's or
Yeah.
something. And Jude got in the first season. Is that
Yes, and so
correct?
did
Yeah.
James.
And James
Oh,
was in first season as well. Okay.
Wow.
I couldn't remember that. I thought he was second season, but it's so those first two seasons are so elusive. We can't find them anywhere. I wish we could
Yes.
watch them somewhere,
mhm.
unfortunately. But yes, and James, oh my goodness, he was so fun to watch. I
Yeah.
got excited about Jude, of course, because there's the hometown connection and
Hmm.
everything.
Sure.
But it must have been so exciting for you to be able to follow along with them
Oh yeah,
the whole
absolutely.
way.
And I got to know them because back then not everyone did the on-camera interviews, and so if you were asked to stay till the end of the day, then you had to do that. And so all three of us hung out and spent some time together. And Jude and her husband even gave me a ride home
Oh,
on
nice.
the ferry and all the way home. So
Oh,
Oh,
how
yeah,
sweet.
yeah,
There's a lot of camaraderie between all the bakers and a lot of people who do meet, like Erica and
Rita.
Rita.
thank you, Rita. I'm like, I don't even know why. I'm total blank. But Rita and Erica had met
Yeah.
at one of the auditions, and then, they that the following season, they
Be there
were
together.
in the same tent together, which is
Mhm.
really, really cool. So the friendships that you make at those auditions and as part of the show, getting on there and obviously after the show, it's really, really cool how the community just keeps growing and building and
Yeah.
more connections are being made. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
wonderful.
I'm still friends on Instagram with the two people that I sat with at the table for my first audition in Vancouver.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, we're following each other all the time, and it's really it's really fun. They're like instant connections when you're sitting at a table for that long together during the
Yes.
day, and all the stuff that you talk about. It really is a bonding experience.
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it totally is. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So how did your bakes change
Hmm.
from the first audition all the way through to the eighth?
I think after the first one, they were all there's sort of variations on a theme and sort of level and all of that. The first one was pretty bad. I think it's safe to say. Um, I mean, it was cute and it was tasty, but it was pretty rudimentary and it had to travel
Compared
from
to what
Victoria.
you do now, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
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 So what did
Yeah.
you make for your first audition?
The first one was naked layer mousse cake.
Mm.
I guess. So it was layers of cake, but on the outside of the cake, I did put some curd. So it was sort of like striped, I guess. And
Mm.
so it was layers of lemon cake, lemon mousse, and a rhubarb mousse.
Mm.
And then I made some rhubarb candy, it was rhubarb candy that I put into molds to look like cherry blossoms and sort of put those all over the cake.
Oh, beautiful. It
Yeah.
sounds
It
beautiful.
does sound.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
a little rugged. It
Okay.
was a little rough. Yeah.
Well, I think everybody's like stepped their game up though. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
from, when you watch season one or those earlier seasons, I mean,
Mm.
still tons of skill and, incredible bakes. But I mean, every season, the levels just keep increasing. And any of those bakes could be found in any patisserie across the
Hmm.
world. The
Oh, yeah.
quality, the incredible quality and the taste profiles. I mean, it's really gone next level.
Hmm.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
Yeah,
hard
it
to
really.
believe people aren't professionally trained.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think that's the neat thing with baking is that you can do it at home and you can achieve
Mhm.
such a high level at home without too much specialty equipment or training or, it's stuff that's always been done at home. And so you can really explore it and do different levels, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, it's really awesome. And of course, if you're a fan of the show, then you've been watching the show and getting ideas and recognizing, learning different things about
Mhm.
different types of pastry creams or,
Oh.
all those different all those different things that you can do that probably most people aren't sitting in their kitchen just thinking, oh, let me just look up the difference between a rough puff and a full puff. Like, what does
Mm.
that even mean? Type of
Yeah.
thing. I guess some of us do that, but it's a learning curve over the years. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think you do get a lot of inspiration from watching these baking shows
mhm,
and seeing what people create and the flavor combinations that they're putting together, the
Mm.
different techniques they're using, or different molds that you didn't even know existed. So you learn a lot along the way and pick up those things. And if you are one of those bakers that is a bit more experimental and it really gets the creative juices going and getting
yeah.
people into their kitchens and baking a bit more.
Mm.
And doing things that maybe they never thought they would do. Like
Totally.
Andrea, who was in season 3. And she was there at the open call auditions, and she was talking about how she never thought she would ever do macarons. And now, like, that's pretty much what she does
Yeah.
mostly.
Yeah.
I've still been trying to learn macarons, and I'm still not there, but we will keep
You'll
trying.
get there.
Yeah. So tell us about some of the other things that you like to do, because I mean, you
Mhm.
said you had 3 small children when you first started auditioning, and it was busy. But I mean, Jen, you're busy all the time
Yes.
because you have so many varied interests.
Yes, and I think that was actually a bit challenging for the casting team um, because my story's a little bit hard to tell. Like I think kind of as a person, I think I'm just sort of a little bit boring, but I like to do a lot of different things. And so
And
Hardly call you
Christina's like, you're
boring.
not boring.
No.
so so yeah, what are we doing? Well, right now it's ski season,
Yeah.
so that keeps us really busy. I grew up racing and coaching back in Ontario on a little bump, and so now we do a lot of skiing. My kids are in the ski racing program at Mount Washington, and I teach skiing in the snow school when we're up there on the weekends as well. So it's pretty busy. So we're back
Yeah.
and forth up to the mountain, 3 hours
Every
each way every
weekend.
weekend.
Wow. And how
Yeah.
was the ski season this year?
Oh, so much better than last season.
Yeah.
Yeah, the skiing's been really good. It that we haven't had a ton of powder since Christmas, like since sort of the holidays, but it's been really good for racing. So
Very good.
that's nice. It's been a little bit harder, but it makes for a fairer race for everybody, and that's been a lot of fun. And so we're a couple races into the season so far, and then we still have lots to go. We go till um, third week of April. We'll be
Oh,
skiing
wow.
still. The kids will be in
Wow.
training
Wow.
camps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Oh,
You don't
fun.
think of BC, I mean, this part of BC as having that much snow that you could actually go for that long. I mean,
Yeah.
you know that I'm not a skier.
Yes.
So I'm like, oh, wow, snow. There's snow on the island. Wow. That's crazy.
Mount
But yeah.
Washington, I think, has it's the way where it's located, it actually
Mhm.
gets a good dumping of snow. It's
Yeah.
probably one of the like a biggest depths of
Mhm.
snow across most mountains, I think, that are here in BC, if I'm not wrong.
No, you are correct. Yeah. I think at one point, I don't know if it's still true. At one point this year, we had the most in North America. So
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
I think there's almost 4 meters at the top.
Wow.
So
So
yeah.
that's why you can ski until the third week of
Yeah.
April.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
the racing club does a speed camp after the mountain closes for the season. So
Oh,
the kids can
wow.
practice on a full length run and work on faster turns and that kind of stuff. So it's a really neat privilege to be able to do.
Yeah. So did your kids ski before they could walk?
Almost. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
love
almost.
when Christina asks the questions that I'm just about to ask.
Because we're the same person.
Oh yeah, my youngest started at I think 15 months.
Wow.
And so one of my favorite photos is actually me sitting at the side of the hill and breastfeeding him. Um, but we're both wearing a helmet and goggles
Oh, that is,
because it
I
was in the middle of the
love
ski
that.
day. Yeah.
That is hilarious. Oh, hello.
Mhm.
That is, yeah, that is so cool. What a great capture.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would love
yeah,
to
it
see
was pretty
that
fun.
photo.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was still pretty little, but he saw everyone else going skiing, and we share an old cabin up there with my sister-in-law and brother-in-law and their families. So it's
Nice.
a big old party every weekend. And he saw all his cousins going out to ski, and then so instead of going the toboggan, he just started trying to put ski boots on. So
Oh,
figured we might as well start him off.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have such a low center of gravity at that age. There's very little fear. So
Yes.
it's the perfect time to get them started and going down. So that's incredible. How
Was there
fun.
fear for you though? Like as the mom, you're little tiny, or were you just like, no, this is just what we do. This is just part of life.
I,
Because
I
I
think
would be
it's
terrified.
helpful. It can be. I think it's helpful because I grew up with ski racing as well. So
Right.
I've done it and kind of get it. But now that my oldest, who's 13, she's definitely going to be doing faster stuff. And especially next year, they'll get into Super G. And so that is a little bit nerve-wracking for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I ski fast and I'm having trouble keeping up with them now. So
Oh, wow.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
they get
That's
going.
crazy.
They get
And your
going pretty good
husband
now.
skis as well?
He does. He is a snowboarder
Okay.
mostly because he grew up wakeboarding, but he wanted to learn how to ski when the kids were learning because it's really hard to teach kids if you're on a snowboard.
Mhm.
So he
Mhm.
learned how to ski with the kids, and we even bought those little snow blades. They're little short skis, and
Oh
they were
yeah.
fantastic for teaching the kids how to ski. And then he's just worked on his skiing since, and now he's really good, and him and I can ski anywhere together.
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's really
That's
awesome.
fantastic. It's kind
Yeah.
of nice to have one of those activities that you can do as a family
Yes.
and have that quality time
Definitely.
as a family. And I'm sure, when the kids get older, they're going to look back at the every weekend in the wintertime, heading up to the cabin at Mount Washington and having so much fun and
All the
all the
cousins.
cousins, like what
Amazing.
incredible memories you guys are making.
Yeah, it's really neat, and I'm glad it's sort of it's been realized because living in Victoria with the 3 hour drive, I didn't really think that my kids would grow up with the same relationship with skiing that I did.
Mhm.
But we were really fortunate that we were able to get the cabin together with all the family, and
Mhm.
it is really neat because it's not like other sports where some people are watching and supporting. We can all do it together, and
Yeah.
you can do it like at all ages.
Yeah.
I have friends whose grandparents still ski, so
Yeah, that's
it's
wonderful.
it's pretty neat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really good.
So yeah,
Did
so
you
that's our winter.
did you consider moving further up Highland and getting closer to Mount Washington?
We have at different times sort of thought about different places that we'd want to be.
Yeah.
It is really nice because my husband's family, they also live in Victoria. So all of us
Mm.
commute up and back. So it's kind of nice to have everybody close. And my parents moved out from Ontario too. So it's one big happy family in
Oh,
Victoria area.
how
One big
wonderful is
island
Lots of
that?
skiing
family.
family.
Yeah.
Lovely. But that's not the only thing you like to do. You don't
No.
just bake, you don't just ski,
Yep.
you
Yeah.
craft like crazy.
Yes, I do. I'm happy making anything. So yeah, knitting is probably what I do the most, I think. But I have craft supplies that I've been collecting since, I don't know, high school. So, there's lots of things to sew and beading and jewelry and yeah, pretty
Yeah.
So I
much
And
guess
anything.
I think that came in handy during Arts and Crafts Week.
Hmm. Yeah.
In a
definitely.
sense.
You're like,
And
this is my week. Don't ever say
oh,
that, but you were
oh,
Yeah,
probably
no, you
thinking,
can't say that because it does, yeah, you
no,
never know.
no, you
no,
don't want to jinx yourself, that's for sure.
no. But let's put it this way. We were not terribly surprised when you
When you
were the
did really
star
well.
baker, yeah, during, Arts and Crafts Week. We're like, of course you were.
That my cartoon cake was actually supposed to be vertical.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the original plan was vertical, but the one of them, the lemon one, it fell over twice in the freezer.
Oh no.
Yeah. So there's enough drama on the show that they can't actually fit it all in. So
Oh
that didn't
man.
make it into the cut. But yeah.
But
So
it
you were
ended up
happy with how,
working well
yeah, it was
because
so
Yeah.
cute.
I mean, it looked like it was deliberate the way you had it set up, and it was called a sad ice cream cake, right? So because it was
Yeah.
about, some, kids dropping their ice creams on the sidewalk, which is
Yeah,
exactly what it looked like
but
in a
it looked
much
like it.
more beautiful way. But I mean, that was just such a clever design, and I thought it was like purposely done that way. So
Perfect. Well, that's good. It's
Well
it's
done.
always good to have some backups in case an idea is maybe a little bit um touch and go. So
Yeah.
that because sometimes you don't know how it's going to actually turn out. And it was hotter that day than I was hoping for. So yeah, doing the sideways was a good call because
It was the way to
otherwise
go.
yeah.
it might have been one of those come back from lunch and it doesn't look the same as when you left it, if that
Oh,
Right.
happens. So
Yeah, that makes sense. You always kept your cool. Like, I think
mhm.
out of everybody, you were one of the most calm appearing and focused of all of them. Like, just like steady as a rock is what I
Yeah.
would have said about you throughout
Mm.
watching all those 8 weeks of competition that doesn't feel like a competition
yeah.
because you're just like motoring through. Was it one of those situations of like a duck very calm on the surface, but like frantically paddling underwater, or are you really as calm and um, chill as you appear?
I think I'm pretty calm. I know my sister said she watched and she's like, "Oh no, you were stressed there. Oh, I could see that in your face."
She
So,
knows you well.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes,
okay.
yeah.
She knows
So
you.
there were definitely times. Um, I think I I have to focus because I'm actually pretty clumsy. So the focus was actually had a purpose. If
Yeah.
because I'm one of those people like if I'm not focusing, I'll like drop something or spill something, or I'm a little absent-minded, so I'll forget an ingredient.
Yeah.
Um, so that's where the focus came in because I sort of had to make sure that I was kind of repeating things and going over the ingredients, make sure I got everything. Um, yeah, like I think it's there's also no time for much of a pity party when you're in the tent.
Mm.
If there's something
Mhm.
going wrong or you don't know how to do it, you just like I think my mantra for the whole thing was just keep calm and keep moving
Yeah.
Hmm.
because there just isn't time. So
Yeah.
you have to be doing something even if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. And just be prepared for anything to happen, I would
Mhm.
imagine as well. There's so much going on all around you, with the whole production, everything, the weather, time constraints, the,
Mhm.
the appliances that you're not really used to, all of
Yeah.
you don't have all of your creature comforts that you would as if you were baking in your house. And also, generally when you're baking at home, it's like, you can take 2 days to make a cake,
Mhm.
right? Rather than you've got 2 hours
You
to
know,
make 3 tiers.
I wish I planned ahead to have 2 days to make a cake at home. I usually end up more like the tent is probably closer to my
Oh,
day to day
okay.
than usual.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, it is. There's definitely a lot going on in the tent. Like I remember the first episode in the showstopper, and it was just so hot. And I spent half the episode just saying to myself, don't cry in the first episode, don't cry the first episode. Because I'm like super, like I'll watch a Canadian Tire commercial and I'll be weepy.
Oh.
Um, or like any of the
Oh.
Olympic commercials, like totally
Mhm,
put me over.
mhm.
And so I had
Oh,
Christine,
the
who was at
Olympic
the,
commercial.
what was that?
I was like, oh, I get you with the Olympic commercials.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just, yeah, I weep. Um, and so the first showstopper, I had Christine in front of me, and she was just having such an awful day. I'm so
Yeah.
glad she talked about it um, on
On the
your podcast
podcast.
because then it gave a bit of a context
Yeah.
to how her baking went that day because it was not a true showing
Yeah.
of her baking, and so that was
No.
great.
Yeah.
She shared kind of the backstory of what happened to her day. So I had her having a rough day in front of me, and Alora's cake fell over in the freezer right next to me. So that was going on there. She's like, just keep baking, just keep baking. So
Yeah.
yeah, so there's lots of moments like that in the tent where there's just there's a lot going on
It
for
did
sure.
not show. It
Yeah.
did not
Yeah.
show.
No,
Well
you
done.
cool as a cucumber, laser focus. You had a plan and you were executing it. I mean, at least that's what came across.
Yeah,
So
because I was gonna say you had a plan with room.
Yeah,
Like
my plans
with
always
lots of
have
room.
room.
Yeah.
Like I think Pamela and I are very opposite in how we approach things. Like, she came up with her concept, she stuck to it, she practiced it, and she executed and beautifully. Um, Whereas mine, like a lot of my decorating style is much looser. Like like I'm gonna make these things and then I'm gonna put them on where they look good.
Yeah.
So I think if you my expectations were less specific. So maybe
Right.
it's easier to stay calm when, you're meeting your expectations because you didn't have set expectations. So
Yeah, you just pivoted when you
yeah,
needed to. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. But I mean, there were a few things that did not go well, as no one can have a perfect
well,
tent. So
no, and
That's
that's
true.
yeah, and that is part of it, right? Some days you're are just going to be a little bit better than others sometimes,
oh yeah.
right? But I mean, for the most part, you had very, very stellar days. There weren't a lot of them that kind of went sideways. And one of the standouts for me was Nature Week and that
Mm,
box that you did,
yes.
the land and sea double-sided to
Hmm.
boot, vertically standing. I mean,
Yeah.
how you probably could have won Star Baker that week with just a single side, just so you know.
Oh, well,
I
thank you.
I think
Yeah.
Well,
it
I mean,
was stunning.
so the double side wasn't that much extra work, and because I used the same elements. Right? So it was the same cake on both sides. The cake was kind of the same shape on both sides. It was the same icing. And then I used meringue, but on one side I used it to make mushrooms, and one side I used it to make sea stars.
Yeah.
Right.
So in that sense, that part it wasn't a huge amount of work extra. Um, the parts that were actually a lot of work, and I probably wouldn't do again, was all the background because
Mm.
you didn't see as much of it. The water side, I actually poured caramelized sugar over it so it looked like water.
Oh,
Oh,
But of
wow.
course, that didn't really come across
Didn't,
on camera. So like,
yeah, didn't.
that was,
but the judges probably saw that.
yeah, I think so. I don't even know if they commented on
Oh,
it because it was also double-sided, then they couldn't spend as much time on each side.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
there's some
that's
of those things that you kind
yeah.
of think about after, like, oh yeah, maybe there's a lot of things I think I did that weren't necessarily worth it
Mm.
in terms of time-wise. Um, and that one, I think I had two or three extra things that I was going to add. Like I was so thankful for the culinary team because there were so many things that I didn't get to in a lot of my bakes that were sort of the optional items. And so there were always a lot of ingredients and equipment and things that just never got used for some of my bakes.
Well,
well,
probably
that.
better that than the alternative, thinking
Yeah.
you have to add something else and then you don't have, by the time
Hmm.
you
What you
kind
need.
of
Yeah.
get everything over or what have you. Yeah. So
Yeah.
probably, yeah, like Lisa was saying, you had this plan and you had like extra room. You had
Yeah.
some buffer
Yeah.
space to play with.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was those finishing details sometimes
Yeah.
have to go. Yeah.
Yeah, because you said you left quite a bit off of your double-sided.
Hmm.
Yeah, which really was like it already looked beautifully full and vibrant
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
like
It
it
was
had
more
so much
things on the
going on.
outside for the frame because the frame actually had a wood grain. to it.
Hmm.
I baked those cookies on top of a wood grain fondant mat.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to highlight those with sort of like a stained effect so you would see the wood grain. Maybe do a little bit of gold kind of embossing on the front frame. Um, Even like adding some more, like I had my little caramelized sugar bird on top. And so I had a few more molds of different elements like that that I didn't get to add. Yeah, I mean, there's a few. I mean, you could just keep adding with something like a shadow
Yes.
box.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of those, I can't remember what era, kind of Baroque era. This Cabinet of Curiosities was sort of like the
Yeah.
precursor to modern museums. And that was kind of
Yes.
the idea
Oh, yeah.
for
Well, it
that.
was beautiful. How many times did you practice that at home?
Well, I didn't practice that one at
Oh,
home
that was later
because
on
it was
when you
later.
had,
So I was doing it
right.
in the hotel room, which meant there was cookie sheets on couches and the bed and stuff all over. I just did it the once. I think it was more getting the box construction
Mm.
Mhm.
because I've done like even my first cake was sort of foresty in Cake
Yes.
Week, and so
Yeah.
that was the land side. So um, that one wasn't too much out of my wheelhouse. And then one of the audition bakes I did, I don't know, season 5, 6, somewhere in there, was a seaquarium. And so it was an undersea. So I had made meringue sea stars and things like that
Mhm.
before. So the inside part, actually, I was fairly comfortable with.
Yeah.
And then it was more making sure I had the construction and the proportions of the overall box to make sure it was
Mhm.
deep enough and figuring out how to use the molds I used for the frame, the face frame and those types of things. So, and the flavor, of course,
Yeah.
for the cookies was I sort of adapted a recipe, so I wanted to make sure I got the flavor right on those because they're taking small bites, right? You know,
Mhm.
if you're making something where someone's going to have a whole bowl of mousse, you're going to flavor it differently than if someone's only going to have,
Yeah.
one bite.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Playing with those things a little bit was tricky. And that one actually, the one they didn't get to try was the center panel that was the backgrounds. On the water side, I painted it with food coloring with a paint roller, but I mixed the food coloring with rum, and so I
Oh,
think that
Oh,
cookie would have been really good, but I never got to try
I
it.
like it. I
Yeah,
like rum a lot.
yeah.
yeah, rum on a paint roller, the things you do
I
in the
mean,
tent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
rum
Sounds
on a paint
perfectly
roller.
normal.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
Doesn't
some of those out of the
everybody
box
use a
things
paint
are
roller?
fun to think about and figure out.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody
Right.
likes, I mean,
Yeah,
if you like rum, you'll take it on a paint roller, you'll take it soaked in raisins or raisins soaked in rum, etc.,
yeah,
etc.
exactly.
So
So, the culinary team did get the odd request
a
or the
paint roller.
odd request. Yeah.
So what was the oddest request you put through that they just kind of went and looked at you and you're like, are you
I'm pretty sure it was the paint roller.
okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure
They're
nobody
like,
ever has
they
asked for a
probably
paint roller.
they probably did not even blink. They were just like, yep, okay.
Yeah, I don't think they did. No. And I think like based on the types of things we baked, I don't think there was anything super crazy that people requested. I
Hmm.
think paint roller is probably the only one that was really out of the box.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah, I think that
Yeah.
one was the most random for sure.
So out of everything that you baked in the tent, what was
Mhm.
your favorite bake?
Hmm. I've been asked that a couple times and I don't know that I have one. I think the ones that they're sort of like there's the ones that I'll always remember, and those are the ones that are based more on the stories behind them, I think.
Mm.
So
Hmm.
like the fika um was for my husband. So that was just close to my heart. And I was happy I pulled it off because it was a lot of things.
Yeah.
And even just the cake could have taken a whole showstopper day to do. So that one was really special to me. The kimono because it was for my
Oh, yeah.
grandmother.
That was
Um,
beautiful.
and one I didn't really get
I
to
love
tell much
that
of a
one.
story about was the split cake at the beginning. And
Okay.
that one was for my late mother-in-law.
Oh.
So
And that
I
was stunning and spectacular as well. Just
Yeah, and so that was sort of based on like a nurse log, right? That's still nourishing those around them, even though it's gone. And it was her cake recipe I used for that. So
oh.
yeah, so those ones are the ones that are kind of close to my heart.
Yeah.
There's some that I want to redo, get a little redemption that didn't go great. There's always a few of those. Um, I've worked on my charcuterie cookie afterwards to get a better shape and proportion. Because we had restrictions, like it had to be quite large for a stuffed cookie,
Mm.
Yeah.
and the flavors that I did, it's much better in a smaller cookie. So
Mm.
I've been working on that one a bit. Um, yeah, there were a
Your
few. Those are
your
probably the main.
Korovai is one that you might want to.
Yes.
redemption bake.
Yeah, well, that one I still haven't even finished the recipe. Some recipes they just take, and the creative side, sometimes they just take a little bit longer to settle and you have to sit with them. And so, yeah, that one still needs some work for sure. Actually, the tart in the finale, the elegant tartlet, that might be one of my favorite recipes
Okay.
Yeah.
that I will make again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. And how about technicals? Was there a technical that stood out
Mm.
in your mind that you just
Hated
loved
that you
doing,
hated.
or which one did you hate? And I think we could probably all guess this one.
Um,
Or maybe not.
I don't
Maybe.
know.
I think the only one that was just like weird and I didn't see a lot of, like it didn't really have a lot of redeeming qualities was the cookie cabin thing. Um,
The one with
yeah,
the fruit caramel.
yes. It
Yeah.
just like the fruit caramel was tasty, but it seemed like a waste of fruit.
Yeah.
I felt
Yeah.
really bad. I think it was Erica was great because the recipe was only half a pineapple, so we could at least share a pineapple.
Yeah.
Right.
Because otherwise we were all going to throw away half a pineapple
Yeah.
that didn't even go in the caramel. Um,
Yeah.
so that one was a bit weird. Oh, and that one, the other drama, it didn't make it on, was um at the end of that one with the sprinkles. I made
Mhm.
there were the bigger sprinkles, so I left them in the warming drawer longer so they would dry all the way through. And I forgot about them until 10 seconds left and they're doing the countdown. I was like, oh no. So I'm bending down. I'm literally like taking them and throwing them at the cake to make sure they got on there. And then they're doing the taste. I'm like, these look a little haphazard.
You're like, yep, they
Yep,
are.
very haphazard.
It's
Because I know
intentional.
a lot of people ask, they're like, is that countdown and all the rushing at the end, is that realistic? I'm like, oh yeah, it is very realistic. Yeah.
And
Oh,
that begs the question, like people are probably coming and asking you questions all the time about the show and your
Yeah.
time on the show and all your years of auditioning.
Mhm.
So, what's the question that you get asked most often?
Hmm. The one about the rushing at the end. So people ask, like, is the timing actually that tight?
Yeah.
And the answer is yes. Um, People ask if you do really wear the same clothes 2 days in a row, or is it all filmed in one day, but they say it's 2 days, so they find that confusing, which is
Yeah.
totally fair.
Yeah.
Um, those are, I think it's most people are just really curious about how TV works, right?
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we all watch it and see it and wonder how it works and that part. Um, how long were you away for? They want to, it's yeah, it's those kinds of
Yeah.
things, sort of just the logistics of how it all works beyond TV. Because I think the baking is easy to understand, and that's why the show's so popular,
Yeah.
right? We're just we're home bakers, we're normal people, and we're doing baking, and so that part's kind of easy to understand, and I think that's why people can follow along and enjoy it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get asked a lot about sort of how does the TV part work?
Mm.
And were you prepared for that when you went there, thinking about all of the different things that go into making a TV show? I mean,
Mm.
you kind of that's part of what you do for a living in a way, but
Adjacent.
you're
Yeah. I
adjacent.
mean,
Yeah,
yeah, I do bookkeeping for a film company, but they do all documentaries.
right.
And other than being an extra when they've needed one for something, that's about all I've done.
Okay,
Um,
so you've had a little bit of experience of like how things are shot and
a little
all
bit, yeah.
the people that it takes to put something like that together. But
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there were 7 cameras in the tent. Yeah. So by the time when you're in the finale, that means there's two per person.
oh
And
man.
and you can imagine like they do so many beautiful shots that are close-ups, which means the camera is, here. And so there's the odd elbow or I mean, we're apologizing nonstop for like splashing and splattering and spilling things on the camera folks. They were amazing. And I think I think when you watch TV and sometimes you watch the making of and things, so you can kind of have a little bit of an idea of sort of how it works. So it doesn't feel too foreign. I think one of the biggest surprises was we could talk to the camera folks, which was amazing
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
it just feels so weird to ignore people, right? And so
Yeah.
it was really nice. So you could converse with them, you could talk to them, and sometimes they would ask questions. If there wasn't someone around to ask what you were up to, they would ask, what are you doing or what are you putting in and that kind of stuff. So that was really nice. So you felt less like you were in like this little vacuum with, or a fishbowl. You felt less like
Yeah.
you were in a fishbowl,
Yeah.
which was nice that way. I really liked that part. But I think it's funny with all the like when people do ask questions that the nice thing about the show is it is a lot of what you see is what you get,
Hmm.
right? Like they do have a lot of um video that like they really have to edit it down. But I think, when it's like, yeah, that is how rushed it is at the end, or yes, it is really that hot, or all of those types of things,
Yeah.
that's what we make and that's how much time we have. And it's pretty straightforward, which
Hmm.
is a really nice thing about it. I
Yeah.
don't know if I would have done it if I'd heard otherwise.
Hmm.
I asked Jude after she did the first season and said, hey, like, did you have fun? How did it go?
Yeah. Is
Should
it
I
worth it?
apply again?
Yeah.
Yeah, is it worth it? And she said it was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
They portray people pretty honestly,
Hmm.
right? Because you worry about that because you have no
Mm-hmm.
control over it when
Yeah.
you read the big list of um, all the legalese and all of
Hmm.
that. You don't have any control over that, and so you want to make
Yeah.
sure that they're they care for the people that are on the set, and
Hmm.
yeah, they really do. So that was pretty
Good.
neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what I really enjoyed about, especially this last season, is how much more we all got to know you guys on the
Yes.
show with all the different vignette they did and all the extra little questions they asked. And just it was so fun. Like it was just really cool to see more of those personalities come out. And your season was filled with all sorts of
Mhm.
great,
Personality.
wonderful,
Yes.
crazy
Yeah.
personalities that made it so fun to watch. But it was really nice to kind of see the more like relaxed and just the banter. And yeah, it was really sweet. It was really lovely to
Yeah.
I feel like we got to know you that much more. And obviously, Lisa and I talk about this. When you see somebody on a show that you kind of know, either through relationships, online, or maybe you've met in an audition before or what have you, it just makes it even like you're just that much more invested in the show. And of course, we kind of interacted with you and of course Christine, and so it was really cool to actually be able to watch it and have like, you cheer for everybody. You want to see everybody do so well, but it's kind of nice to have like those little like hometown favorites that you're
Yeah.
cheering for, right? Like, I mean,
Yes.
for us, it was like you and Marcus. And but everybody was so amazing. And it was such a great season to watch. And the finale was probably, the talent in the finale was
Mm.
mind
Oh
blowing.
yeah.
And I can't imagine how Kyla and Bruno had to make a decision on the winner of season 8, because any one of you incredible talented bakers could have taken the crown quite
Mm.
easily.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was a great season. And I
Hmm.
think I really enjoyed that they went a little bit more out of the box on the different themes for each week.
Mhm.
Yes.
That was one of my favorite parts because it was a little bit different. And I think it helped people be able to create and express themselves more. So I think maybe we got to know everyone a little bit more that way too, because the
Mhm.
themes just gave you a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it was just a little more leeway or just a little bit more space to create, which was
Hmm.
pretty neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we had guest hosts for our recap episodes, which we really
Mhm.
enjoyed, and we had planned to just have Steve and Vincent for the first episode, and then Larry had expressed some interest in coming and guest hosting with us, and we said, "Well, when Bread Week comes, you can."
Bread week never
You,
came.
Aw,
there was never any Bread Week, so he
yeah.
joined us for the last one.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was a really interesting to see the different themes come out,
Mhm.
and not just have, okay, cake week, cookie week, bread week,
Yeah.
pastry
Pastry
week.
week. Yeah.
They had celebration week, but that kind of
Yeah.
thing. Um, wait a second, did they have celebration week? I can't even remember. No,
Yes.
that was
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, we did.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm
We
like,
did have
wait, was that
celebration
just
week.
Australia? Okay. I was watching
They do blend. Yeah, they
Yeah, I
Yes.
blend
was
after a
watching
while.
all three at the same time, British
Oh
and
my goodness.
Canadian and Australian, and sometimes it's like, how am I going to keep this straight? But
Hmm.
just enjoy every episode individually, but
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
No, it
it was
was
really fun.
yeah,
good.
good. Well,
Yeah.
it was fun and such a joy watching all of you do your thing and create such magic for us to be
Mm.
Mhm.
inspired by.
Yes,
Ah.
it's daunting and inspiring at the same time. And the friendships. Are they
Mhm.
real? Do they continue? Have you been keeping in touch with like a group text and chatting with people? Did you have one person that you maybe got along with a little bit more, or how was it following up afterward?
I think for me, I wish I had more time to follow up more with folks
That's
because
true, yeah.
I think it's taken me almost till now to feel like I've caught up on life.
Yeah.
Because when you're away for 6 weeks
Mhm.
and you're prepping for 6 weeks before that, you're kind of ignoring life for 3 months.
Yeah.
So texts here and there and sharing some recipes and checking in with folks. And yeah, so definitely keeping in touch. I'm hoping to be able to connect a little bit more once we get into the spring. I
After
think,
ski.
After ski
yeah, after
season.
ski season.
Après ski.
Um, and I was actually really nice at the open call because I got to see Marcus and I hadn't seen him
Mhm.
since the show. So I was a little bit selfish and didn't try as many things because I was hanging out with Marcus.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And
It
he's
makes
such a
sense.
sweet, sweet
oh,
person as
yeah,
well.
Yeah.
he
And he
is.
was awake.
Yeah, exactly.
He
Oh,
probably had 6 coffees before coming to the open call.
oh yeah, yeah. So,
It was lovely for us to meet him
Mhm.
in person too.
oh, good.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
that was
was
the
so
first
that
time.
was really lovely. And I think it was really neat just being able to connect with everyone in different ways. And that's the coolest part is that, it is such a diverse group of people, but because
Mhm.
of the baking piece, and I think bakers in general, you're generous people. And so you want to spend time and
Yeah.
get to know other people. And yeah, that was very cool. I did get to see Pamela in October because I was in her area.
Nice.
We were doing a Spartan race with friends, and so she made the time to come over, and we did a little watch party because we were there on a Sunday.
Oh, marvelous. Yes, I
Perfect.
remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my friend's kids were over the moon, and my kids, because they got to see a celebrity.
Famous
Because
person.
I'm just
A
me, but
famous
Not
I
person.
don't
mom.
count because they know me. So they're excited to get to meet a famous person, and it was my little guy's birthday, and Pamela brought him cupcakes. So
Oh, that's
Oh.
sweet.
Yeah, your kids being so involved in everything, like when you were doing when Bruno came to Bolin Books to the book
Mhm.
signing and your kids were there and you had baked something, had a little bit of a competition between yourself and Jude and someone who works at the bookstore, I believe.
Yes, correct.
That each did you each I came in a little bit late. You each baked something out of Bruno's new cookbook? Is that what it
Yes,
was?
it
Yeah.
was a chocolate sour cream cake with chocolate bacon glaze. Yeah,
Mm.
out of his new cookbook. So, oh, and the other gentleman, I don't think he works at the bookstore. He is in their book club, and he always brings
Oh,
them baking. So,
oh, wonderful.
yeah.
Okay. And so then Bruno did a taste test and judged them.
Yes. Yeah.
Spoiler alert, guess who won?
Mm.
I did go a little bit over the top in that Jude and I forget his name. They baked it the way it was presented in the recipe, which was, I think a 9-inch single layer cake with a beautiful glaze and caramelized bacon on top. And I baked mine in an octopus shaped bundt pan. So, I went a little bit over the top and I made bacon suction cups to decorate the octopus. So,
I didn't
um,
see that. That was the
That's
point that I came
awesome.
in. Just the point where he was saying something about how great it was and how it tasted amazing. And then everybody clapped for Jen. And I was like, oh, look, Jen won. That was really fun. But the going back to what I was saying, your three kids were there and
yes.
just being like little mini celebrities bopping around chatting with people and it was super cute to see how invested and involved they are in this particular
Mhm.
part of your life.
Yeah, well, they've been helping with the application videos since day one. So
Mhm.
the very first one, the little guy's in a
In
carrier
the
and I'm standing
carrier.
next to my mixer and I just say hi and introduce myself and talk about our sourdough starter bubbles. And and that was it for the first year. And then every year after that, they helped and we would do different things. I one year we did alliterations with baking and the different places we take baking. So we did scones on the ski hill and we did pie on a paddleboard and brioche on a bike. And so they helped with all of those things. And so it really has been an annual tradition
Yeah.
to put together an application video. And usually I bake stuff for it. So they like that part.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, we did lots of videos. One year I did costumes and themes. So they helped pull all the stuff out of the tickle trunk. And
Yeah.
um, Yeah, so they are invested with it every year and they see me sort of prepare for it and it's been a ton of fun. Yeah, it
Yeah.
Has it
really is
been
baking season every winter.
right? Has it been
Did you miss
strange
it? Oh,
this year? Yeah.
yeah.
Did you
Did
miss
they
it?
miss it this year?
I don't think so because the show did just air, like, it sort of ended in November and then we got into the ski season and I don't think they really missed it too much because we're just, getting increasingly busier every year as they're getting older and getting into more activities. So it
Yeah.
was I think, I mean, there's always that kind of thing, when could it happen? When should it have happened? And I think things happen when they're supposed to.
Yeah.
And it was a really good year. Like if I'd gone, I think during COVID, I think most of the years during COVID, when I didn't make it, I was kind of relieved because
Mm,
I didn't
Right.
really want to be away. And if something happened and,
yeah,
Yeah.
that kind of
that's
thing. And
fair.
before that, they were really young.
Yeah.
And so I think this was kind of the sweet spot of getting to
Hmm.
do it, before anyone's in high school. And they were old enough to at least be helpful. So my husband got a little bit of help. He was
Yeah.
a rock star regardless, looking after the house. But uh, yeah, I think it was the perfect time for it to happen. And I tell all my other tent bakers that I'm glad it was this year because I got to
Mhm.
do it in the tent with all of them. So
Yeah.
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 it was pretty
It's
perfect.
Persistence did pay off. And
Yeah.
like you said, came at the right time for you. Um,
Mhm.
and how about your sister? Has she still continued to apply for the show?
No, she hasn't. I think after the first year, we both kind of did it on a whim. And then I think she recognized that she having to be on the TV part isn't really something she wanted to do. And more so, she's just a master of flavor and texture, but she
Mm,
doesn't really like to spend the time decorating.
mm.
She's very practical. So it's, I'm just going to eat it. Why would I, why would I spend 6 hours making a seaquarium out of, meringue? So
That's
she's,
fair.
yeah,
Totally
she has,
fair.
she has not continued
Mm.
auditioning, although I think she would be great. So I still
Yeah.
keep pushing her, but
Well,
yeah.
maybe they will have, some sort of Great Canadian Baking Show, which is a team one, and you guys could do it together.
yeah,
Or
You
another show.
or another show.
that's true. She would
Yeah.
still have to want to be on TV, I think.
Mm.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
can have
Although
like the mystery baker or something
Yeah.
maybe. But I
behind the
mean, to
scenes.
be fair, I think there's very few of any of the bakers that have baked in the tent that really did it because they wanted to be on TV.
No, that's true. So
Right? I think
true.
I think
Yeah,
it's
Yeah.
way more about the challenge of getting to do it. And
totally.
I think we're all people, or maybe not everyone, but I think so many of us watch the show and you start thinking about, oh, well, what would I do in that
Yes.
challenge? And
Yes.
I would love to, oh, why, I would love to make that, but
Yeah.
you're not going to make a three-tier bread tower at home, on a
Unless you're
regular
baking
basis.
along with it.
Yeah, unless you're baking
Unless,
along.
unless you're
Uh,
baking along.
yeah, then you do.
And
So
then
it's
it
just, I
cooks
mean, it's
moldy
just,
in your
it's an
bread box.
amazing. Yeah. So
Yeah,
it
and I
really
think
is summer camp, as Rita has said, or our little
exactly
vacation, as we coined it, because
Yeah,
we get
vacation.
to
vacation.
focus
Love it.
and do that. But yeah,
And I
it's never really about the TV. It's just sort of
Mhm.
something.
I
It's
think the
yeah.
casting team, they're so good also. They would be able to weed out who is there just trying to get their 15 minutes of fame, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
not what it's about. And
No.
if
Yeah.
there was somebody there for the wrong reasons, I mean, we're not on The Bachelor or anything, but definitely I think they would be able to tell who was there for for fame and no fortune.
Yeah, exactly.
No fortune.
There is no fortune.
No,
No, there is
no.
But
no
it's
fortune.
except for the fortune of meeting incredible
Yes.
bakers who are passionate about what they do and having becoming part of this elusive baking club family
Yeah.
that you have, and then the learning as well, like just to be
Mhm.
able to be immersed in baking boot camp with all, so
Your
many other
besties?
incredible,
Yeah.
yeah, baking besties. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what we all crave is just having, being in a group with other people who share similar passions,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
to talk to each other and to brainstorm different ideas and, just learn
Mhm.
from each other and push each other and support each other
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Oh,
cheer each other
absolutely.
on.
Yeah. And you have to write down your recipes, which
Yeah.
I don't do a very good job of normally. So I have this whole now I'm,
You
16
have
recipes that I had to write down for the show, which is
to
great.
push
So,
yourself to do that. Yeah.
yes.
Do you usually kind of just fly by the seat of your pants and be like, oh, I'm gonna like bake this kind of cake and then I'm gonna put this type of mousse on it and then yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, most things I bake are not repeatable because I don't know what I did,
I get you.
or I have some sort of idea.
Yeah.
And I tend to bake components. So I have my lemon curd recipe that I love, and I have my
Yeah.
pastry cream, and I have,
Yeah.
so I think if you bake from components, then it's, some of those things are written down, but
Mhm.
Yeah.
um, yeah, there's very few. I mean, every time I make cinnamon buns, the filling is a little different.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The dough might be mostly the same, but yeah, for the most
Yeah,
part, I'm not
yeah,
writing that stuff down.
I
Yeah.
Yeah.
gotcha.
And then it's just putting all those components together and creating those little masterpieces.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I don't know if you guys have seen the cookbook Sift.
I haven't
No.
seen that
Yeah,
one, no.
oh, I think I have it right over here.
You
I just
just
got it
got
for my
rid of a
birthday.
bunch of
There you
cookbooks.
go. I just got it for my
Oh,
birthday.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Because I was
but
gonna say
the
you
re
just gave me two cookbooks and donated the other
I
one.
know, yeah, I love cookbooks. I read them like novels. But in the back of Sift, it has the Matrix of Joy.
oh, Matrix of Joy.
Okay, that does look
Okay.
really good. I can't see what any of them say, but
No, same.
That's okay. So it's basically it
like a
has
chart.
um so along the top it has some different sort of fillings and things like whipped cream and frangipane and jam. And then on the left it has like brioche and choux and pie dough and puff
Oh,
pastry. And so it's like a little matrix of joy. So you can kind of match things up.
Oh, I
oh, I
kind of
love
Kind
love
of how I
that.
like to bake.
that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good birthday present. So, did you just have a birthday? Did I miss your birthday?
Mm.
I did when was it? Sunday. Yeah. It kind of falls in with the whole family day and Valentine's Day and
Well, happy birthday.
Happy
thank
birthday.
you. Yeah.
It seems like you were treated very well by people who know exactly what you like.
I was. Yeah.
Good.
I got a cookbook and what did we do? I had breakfast made for me and it was delicious. And then my sister made us dinner and my parents took the kids and Stephen and I went for lunch and I got my free birthday coffee and
Starbucks. Yep.
and then we went axe throwing.
Oh, that's so
Really? So
fun.
fun.
It was really fun. And then we have neighbors down the street that have a sauna and a natural pool. So we went for a sauna and a cold plunge and then had a beautiful dinner.
Okay,
Sounds
that
like you had
sounds perfect.
the perfect birthday day.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
great. It was sort of around town because the kids don't have the ski training on Family Day weekend. So
Mhm.
Ah,
we usually take it as like just kind of a mid-season breather. We stay
yeah,
in town, just kind of chill out. And yeah, we don't have to drive anywhere if we don't want
yeah.
to, which is nice. And
That's so good.
Very
yeah,
nice.
pretty chilled out.
Well, you packed it all in.
Yeah, you did.
Yes. Yeah.
It's very
All
cool.
right. Well, let's play a little game of this or that
Okay.
and ask you a few questions. Hopefully, we're going to do mostly different questions from what we asked when you were on with Elora and Pamela.
Okay.
Um, it's hard because it's like we've asked her a lot of these questions already.
Mhm.
Okay. First one,
Okay.
coffee or tea? What's in your mug right now?
Tea for drinking, coffee for baking. Or
Ooh.
I'll drink coffee, but it has to taste like dessert.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
the whipped cream and
Hmm.
chocolate sprinkles and yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
So
usually, yeah.
what was your free birthday drink? What did you get? Did you get
yes.
a venti because you can?
Yes, yeah, it was
Good.
the biggest, so Stephen and I could share it, and it was I don't really do a lot of caffeine, so it was a decaf mocha, extra hot.
Okay. That
Sounds
sounds
good.
good.
Sounds
Oh,
like dessert.
and half sweet.
Half sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they do put in a lot of pumps on
Oh yeah, especially
syrup.
the venti, it's like I don't know.
Tastes like dessert, but you need your dessert to be slightly toned down. So
Yes, yeah, they're
perfect.
still balanced. I like the taste of coffee, but I prefer tea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And would
Kind
you
of
have a favorite tea?
Mm, nope, I'm kind of a tea granny, so usually black teas with lots of milk.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
sounds good. You guys
Very
can
Mhm.
have tea together, and I will just have coffee
There you go.
with stuff in it to make it taste like dessert.
There you go. All right. Bread or cakes?
Ooh. Well, I bake bread a lot. So I would say probably bread. I probably bake and eat more bread than cake,
Mhm.
which is probably not a bad thing. I don't think anyone should eat or bake and eat more cake than bread, I suppose.
Agreed.
Um,
Yes.
yeah,
Bread
a lot of
is,
bread. We do sourdough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
nice.
Bubbles?
Which,
You still have
Yes.
bubbles?
Oh yeah, Bubbles is my fourth child, and
Alive and
yeah,
well.
yeah,
your
live and
sourdough
well.
starter is named Bubbles.
Mhm.
I love it. That's so
Yeah,
cute. That's
the
so
kids named
cute.
it. Yeah.
Love it. That's perfect.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it's the only pet we'll ever have. It's very forgiving.
Well, you know what? They're a lot of work though. They're high maintenance
Yeah.
pets.
They're not bad. Like if you get into a routine, like I
That's
usually,
true.
Yeah.
if I'm not baking a lot, I just put it in the fridge and then I feed
Yeah.
it the night before I want to make bread and
Yeah.
make bread. This week I'm feeding it a lot because I keep trying to get a bit of a backlog in the freezer for
Mm,
when we're busy.
yeah.
And so I've made 6 sourdough loaves in the last 3 days,
Oh, wow.
Wow.
and only
Nice.
three of them made it into the freezer.
Oh, yeah. Well, because it's so good. It's hard to resist not
Very
like,
hard.
Yeah.
taking a slice here, take another piece there. And
Yeah.
your house must be, the
I was
last
gonna
2 days of
say,
your house must
Yeah.
be heavenly.
yeah, you've got that smell in your house and you're just
Mm.
like, I gotta have
Mhm.
some of that with butter.
Mhm. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
there's definitely more bread and than cake. Although last week I made a cake for a friend for a birthday cake and I messed it up twice. So we had and it was a big cake, so I had like 3 sheet pans of cake that was not
how did you
acceptable. So
mess it up?
Oh,
I just messed up the emulsification. I didn't mix some things that I was
Oh, I
supposed to,
see.
and so it didn't end
no.
up super fluffy. The one was all right. I added extra leavening. The other one was closer to a Sarawak cake. It
Okay.
was very eggy, and then the last one was good. So,
Okay.
so there was a lot of cake in our house. There was a
Everybody's
surplus
just
of
like,
cake.
I guess if we have to eat it, we'll eat
Yeah. So we
it.
made some trifle and we did some different things.
Right.
Perfect. And did you have a birthday cake?
Oh, for myself, my sister put together because we had some components around the house. So we just did a vanilla cake with lemon curd.
Oh, nice.
Um, I think that's all that was in it. It might have had something else in it too. Oh, diced strawberries. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that sounds
Nice.
really
What a
nice.
Yeah.
lovely
Lemon.
combo.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like a simple little 6-inch cake.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll make something big for my birthday if I'm feeling creative, but we had such a busy weekend that it was nice to relax. And I made this big birthday cake right before the weekend, and it was the last Airbender.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for a kid's birthday,
Yeah.
and wasn't familiar with it, so I watched the series, and then so I made this whole cake. So yeah, I was
Wow.
I was caked out. So that was
Yeah.
my
No
baking for the weekend.
kidding.
That's
Wow.
fair.
Yeah. I haven't thought about The Last Airbender for a really long time.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I
yeah,
watched the new series,
they
the
have a new
Netflix.
one. I did not know that.
Well, I don't know how new. I'm
Okay.
generally behind. I'm generally behind the times.
I never
So,
watched it myself. I just
I've
oh,
never
remember
watched it.
hearing about it in media.
um,
So,
yes,
yeah.
there's one. It's on Netflix. It's a
Okay.
series there. So that's what the cake was based on. Anyway, I had to make sure I got the right Airbender because there's different series. So it's got to be
Good
accurate.
for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's like that's dedication and commitment. Like, okay, well, I guess I have to sit down and watch this Netflix series
Yeah.
now
Well,
in
it was
order
for
to get it
chosen
right.
family, so you go above and beyond.
You,
Yep.
yes, you do,
Yeah.
definitely. Okay, crafting with paper or crafting with yarn. You kind of answered that
Definitely
earlier.
yarn. Yeah,
Yarn.
definitely
You're
yarn.
a knitter. Is that a cozy that you've got
I
It
on?
is.
love
Yeah.
You
that.
know what?
Yes.
I thought it was
So
ceramic. I
pretty.
thought it was part of the mug.
No, it's yeah. And my brother-in-law was a woodworker, and so he made these buttons out of walnut
Oh,
for me.
oh my goodness.
Beautiful.
I love
Yeah.
this.
So no, definitely knitting. I usually have at least one project going at any given time.
Yeah.
And yeah, definitely knitting. Although I did grow up doing origami, so I do like paper
Yeah.
crafting, but I do more knitting now.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice.
It's just I
Skiing?
just don't know
Oh,
how you have the time for all of this.
yeah.
I just try stuff.
Yeah.
Like if I'm watching TV, I'm usually knitting or I'm doing
Mhm.
something or I'm baking or yeah.
Keeping your hands busy.
I
Yeah,
bet you're not
exactly.
somebody who sits and scrolls on your phone a lot.
No, not too
Mm,
much.
that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Very, very good.
Skiing or baking?
Ooh, skiing.
Mm,
Yeah, it's
We need a great
outdoors.
Canadian
It's
skiing.
fun. You get to do with a bunch of people.
it's family. Yeah.
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 Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So
So I think
then,
yeah, definitely skiing.
okay, so the skiing season goes until April, late
Hmm.
April. So then last year, skiing season was coinciding with you preparing to go on the show.
Yes.
How did you do that?
My husband is a rock star, I think, as I
Okay.
said before.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some times where he took the kids to the mountain and I stayed in town so I could practice. Um, yeah, that was basically it. It was just practice time and it was we found out the ski season wasn't quite as busy in April last year. So we
Perfect time.
were, pardon?
I said, like you said, perfect time.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I found out when they did that little montage of all of us getting told that we made it on the show, and I was actually in an Airbnb in Roseland because my daughter
Oh,
had her U14 provincials that weekend.
Wow.
Um, but that was kind of the last big race that we had. So it was great. So after that, there was a couple events, but I stayed home and practiced. And then we had some friends that figured it out when I was away. I think I was filming, and we had a ski event. A bunch of kids went to Tofino to go surfing as an off-season activity, and they're
Nice.
like, "Jen's not here. Wait a second."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
kind of
Because
put
what
two and
did you
two
tell
together.
people you were doing for the 6 weeks you were gone?
Well, I don't see that many people on a regular basis.
Oh, okay.
So that part actually wasn't too bad. So we
Mhm.
sort of, because it kind of overlapped, just kind of the end of ski season. So all those
Mhm.
folks we don't really see much in the off season, just here or there. And then family in town, we didn't say anything. We just sort of left it unsaid.
Mhm.
Hmm.
But
Um,
they all knew.
yeah. And then I'm pretty sure that my 87, I think she's 87, my neighbor down the street, I'm pretty sure she thought that I left Stephen.
Oh.
Yeah, because he kept saying, "Oh, she's just visiting her aunt," or he had lots of things. And poor Joy down the street. She's so thoughtful. She's like, "Now is she okay? And are you okay? And when will you
Aw.
be back?" And of course, Stephen didn't know when I would be back.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so our lovely neighbor Joy, I think, was the only one that was really concerned.
Concerned.
Yeah,
Oh,
she
and
was.
she
Oh.
was probably very happy to see you back. You
Yes.
reconciled.
Yeah, I think so. I
And
think
she
the
was
only thing there was one I know that Pamela, I think she said she was on jury duty, which is a
That's a
amazing
smart.
idea
good one.
Yes.
because
Yeah.
you'd never know how long jury duty is going to go for, right?
Yes.
Hmm.
The funny thing was, I actually the week after that I found out I made it on the show, I got a jury summons for during the show.
Oh no. So did you use that as an excuse?
Yes, because
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd already signed a contract. So
Right.
yeah. So
Yes.
the show they had to write letters and send it
Saying
to.
they would not release you. Yeah.
So yeah, so I got out of jury duty. So
Yeah.
as opposed to saying I was in jury duty, the baking in the tent actually got me out of jury duty.
That's
Yeah.
hilarious. That's
That's
so
so
funny.
funny. I
Hmm.
always wanted to do jury duty, and I've been summoned 3 times, and my work will not let me do it. And I'm like, why do I have to be an essential service? This is not fair. I want to, probably would be boring, but I still have always
Yeah.
wanted to have that experience. I thought it would be
Wow.
interesting.
I've never been summoned
Huh.
Oh,
ever.
Okay, now you've said it, so it's going to happen.
there you go. Yeah, I once when I had a baby that was still nursing, and then once when I was going to bake in a tent. So I have yet to do jury duty. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, and would you have wanted to?
Um, I guess I suppose it's
Yeah.
a civic duty. I
Yeah.
don't know that.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
don't think you have.
neither
Yeah.
here nor there. Yeah, but I did,
Yeah.
and I did get to call a family friend who is a lawyer. I was like, I think I can tell her what I said to her. I'm like, what do I do?
Yeah, yeah.
It
Yeah.
was great.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, I was like, of course. The one time I get jury duty
Good.
is after,
It's just
8 years
ironic.
of applying for a show.
Exactly. Yeah.
But what a good excuse.
It is a great excuse.
Good
Hmm.
Yes.
excuse.
Pamela, I'm keeping that in mind
Pamela,
too.
brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yes,
Tell you.
definitely. All right, chocolate or vanilla?
Mm, chocolate.
Mhm.
Yeah,
What kind of
and
chocolate?
usually dark.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, usually
Good.
dark. And
Good.
yeah, good with everything. Yeah.
Christina's just like looking like, yeah,
No, it's all good. I don't mind dark chocolate.
I know. But okay, so are you aware of our debate on white chocolate?
That it's not chocolate.
Yes, it's not chocolate.
It is chocolate. The name. It's called white chocolate. Not white candy. It's called white chocolate. And the
Oh,
good stuff has cocoa butter in it, so it counts.
yeah, it's cocoa butter and sugar, but I still don't consider it chocolate.
Yeah,
It
but
has its place.
milk chocolate is cocoa butter and sugar too,
Yeah, but it has
right?
cocoa in it. It has the
Look,
chocolate part.
It's got cocoa butter and chocolate. So anyway,
it's
we'll
okay
move
for us.
on.
It's
We'll
Yeah,
move
okay
I
for
on.
us to
yeah,
have a difference of opinion.
yeah.
That's what gives good conversations, right?
Yeah.
Unless,
Yeah.
I appreciate its uses.
yes,
Yes,
and its
Yeah.
taste is
exactly.
not bad either.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's what I love about it is just how versatile it is
Hmm.
in stuff that you do and bake with.
Okay,
So
you know what I
I think,
just realized? Oh, sorry, Jen, go ahead.
oh, I was just, and I think as I've gotten older, I also appreciate vanilla a lot more than I did when
Mhm.
I was younger. And I
Yes.
don't know if that's just appreciate, the textures of things as you get older, like a really good pastry cream or creme brulee,
mhm.
that type of thing,
Yes.
or if the vanilla is actually better. So,
Oh,
I think that
well,
there's access to better ingredients these days,
mhm,
right? So I think
yeah.
that's a big part of it. I mean,
Mhm,
the world is a much smaller place in the sense that you can get anything from pretty much anywhere these days.
mhm.
yeah.
Where before you were limited to whatever you could buy at your grocery store shelf, right?
I
Like
know
when
my
you were
family
younger.
always had artificial vanilla growing up.
Mhm.
We never had real vanilla.
I
So,
don't know that there was a lot of real vanilla even
yeah.
available
Mhm.
back in the day. I mean, there
Yeah.
could have been, but we certainly didn't have access to it.
Yeah,
Oh,
artificial
yeah.
vanilla and margarine. Let's bake.
Yeah. I can't believe it's not butter. That's what we
Oh
used
my
to say at
goodness.
our place.
Mm,
Yeah, no, not good.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Very
Ah,
Next
true.
all
question then,
right.
Christina.
Handmade or store-bought gifts?
Handmade.
Yeah, of
What a
course.
surprise.
I
Make it
know.
with
Anytime.
love.
Yeah, I would always rather
Okay, to
handmade. And
make or to receive?
both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just
My mom's family at Christmas, she's from 7 kids. So our Christmases growing up were like 30 people. And we'd always do them on Boxing Day, and then that meant everybody could come.
yes.
And at one point it got to a point where we were opening gifts for like 3 hours, right? Because everyone had their stocking and all these different things.
Yeah.
And then one year, my uncle, he did some woodworking kind of on the side. And so he gave each family a set of shaker boxes. And so he had, these like nesting shaker boxes, and he'd
Yeah.
made one from each family. And then the next year, somebody else decided, they're like, oh, that was really fun. So then they made a craft for everybody. And so eventually, what we ended up doing is we nixed all the gifts, and all we did was a craft exchange.
Oh, I
Oh,
love
So
that.
that's
you either made
wonderful.
something or you bought something that someone could craft with. So maybe it
Hmm.
was a gift certificate for Lee Valley, or um, I think my dad's not super crafty, but he put in a gift certificate for one ski tuning because he was really good at tuning skis. And it was awesome because you had this whole variety of, um, you might have a 7-year-old cousin who bakes a batch of cookies, and then my uncle who went from shaker boxes to actually a professional wood turner. And so he would put in a turned artistic bowl. And one uncle did some painting. And so you just had all these different things. And everyone's just happy. You drew a card or a name, and then you just got whatever that person made. And, sometimes you would trade because, I don't know, Stephen got handmade soap from one cousin and maybe he wanted something different. So you do some
Yeah.
trading so that
Yeah,
people get
Oh, and
something
that
that's
just
kind of
makes it
appropriate.
so much more
wonderful.
meaningful.
Yeah.
You're not just like, oh my gosh, I still have to buy for 13 people, that kind of thing. That's
Exactly. Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And because you don't get to spend that much time together. And of course, most of the time was spent eating because,
Yeah. Yeah.
our dessert table was as big as the regular food table.
Yes, of course.
So the present opening wasn't really the focus. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
much more fun after we switched to the craft exchange.
Oh,
That's
for
great.
sure. That
Yeah.
sounds amazing. What a great, great Christmas tradition.
Yeah, much
Mhm.
more about the real meaning of Christmas and being
Mhm.
together.
Yeah.
That
Yes,
is so
absolutely.
important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we were fortunate and, no one needed a lot of things. So,
Mhm.
especially
Yeah.
from your extended family that you don't spend that much time with. So,
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
it just worked out better all around.
Yeah.
that's
That
fantastic.
is
Love it.
brilliant.
Okay, Winter Olympics or Summer Olympics?
All Olympics. I can't decide.
Mhm.
I kind of
I'm a
thought you were
sucker
going
for
to
the Olympics.
automatically go for winter, but
No, I just love all the Olympics. And I should say those should also include the Paralympics because we
Yes.
have a Paralympian that actually rents the suite in our house and he's amazing. So
Oh,
wow.
wow. What
Okay.
sport do they compete in?
he's wheelchair track.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
Wow.
he won 2 medals in Paris at the most recent Paralympics.
Good
How
for him. Okay.
wonderful.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Super cool.
that's amazing. So
Yeah,
all
pretty.
Olympics across
Yeah,
the
all Olympics and Paralympics. It's been awesome to have him in our house because my kids can see how much work it takes.
Yeah.
Mm.
When it's high season, Austin's has 3 or 4 training sessions a day.
Wow.
Yeah, and he gets up, he goes, he trains, he comes home, he eats, he rests on repeat for days on end, and so it's pretty amazing for them to get to see
Yeah.
um, someone who's that dedicated to something, which is
I
cool.
mean,
Yeah.
they
And what
have
an
been seeing
inspiration.
it. they have been seeing it in you
And you, yeah.
for quite some time, like for your youngest, pretty much their entire life.
Yes. Yeah.
But yes, in a slightly different way. It's good for them to
Yeah.
see it's not just mom because it's
Yeah,
easy to write
exactly. Yeah,
off
there's
mom.
and there's different levels,
Yes.
Yeah, so they get
Yeah.
to see him, yeah, win his
Wow.
medals, which is very cool. And he's very generous, and he lets them hold the medals, and he told them the
Oh,
story about it. And there's pieces of the Eiffel Tower. They took some bolts out and replaced them with new bolts, and they used some of the original bolts. And there's a little bit on each of the medals.
oh,
That's
cool.
really
Yeah.
I had
cool.
no
Oh, good
idea.
for Austin.
That's
Mhm.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah.
cool. Traditional Japanese cuisine
Mhm.
or classic Canadian dishes?
Mm, probably traditional Japanese, I think. Yeah. Although I don't know. I mean, the Canadian culture is
I know
such.
there isn't really.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, yeah, any sort of traditional Canadian dishes. I suppose you could go with sort of traditional Western dishes or North American dishes. Um, but yeah, I would probably go for more traditional Japanese dishes. Although that being said, I've never been to Japan. So,
Mhm.
um, and I think when you're from a family that um, immigrates here, their culture is sort of set of when they left, right?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
So
um,
true.
so the culture, the Japanese culture that my family embraced, there's no Hello Kitty in our
Yeah.
culture because my grandparents were actually born in Canada. So
Mm,
Right.
it's quite a long-standing. We're definitely much more Canadian than Japanese at this
yeah,
point. And
that's
and I
fair.
think after the internment camps and after the war that
Mhm.
I think Japanese folks certainly in a lot of ways were very quiet, right? And sort of trying not to cause any trouble, trying not to be a
Mm,
focus at all. And so
mhm.
I think you certainly lose some culture that way, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
that's so
the
true.
food has certainly lasted, which is the best part.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite? Are you like, do you guys enjoy
Um,
sushi? Are you ramen lovers? Or do you like,
Both, yeah, definitely both. I mean, ramen is probably much more of a modern thing to really enjoy here. Um, But I mean, my grandmother would make sukiyaki, which was great, and we would have on Christmas we would do a traditional Canadian Christmas dinner at about 1 o'clock,
Mhm.
and then that would all get cleaned up, and we'd have a nap and open gifts, and usually watch basketball, and then we would have a big Japanese dinner at about 6 o'clock.
Oh,
Oh,
gee,
So
because you're
wow.
hungry at that point.
I know,
It is
yeah,
really all about the food.
Really
it
is.
is. Yeah,
It's a
so it's all
lot
about
of
the
food.
food.
Yeah.
Between
Yeah.
Christmas and then for our family, New Year's Day was a really big thing as well.
Mm,
So there would be a big feast on New Year's Day and lots of sushi and sashimi and yeah, definitely lots of seafood
Love it.
and that
yeah.
type of thing, which was always great. I think I hear you saying, there's so much more access to ingredients, but and I think it's sort of also what your family grew up with. And so I grew
Mhm.
up with a lot of seafood, which
Mhm.
Right.
I don't know that a lot of folks, I had octopus when I was however
Yeah.
old,
Hmm.
because that came on the New Year's seafood platter thing.
Yeah.
And that wasn't something that Stephen had growing up.
Yeah.
Right.
But I also remember like being in high school before we tried a mango because
Yeah.
Mm.
we watched Martha Stewart cut it on, the on the TV. So
Yeah.
I think it all just depends on where you come from and what
Yeah.
what your family looks at. So
100%. Do you
Yeah.
have
yeah.
any desire, any plans to visit Japan?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely one of those bucket list things.
Yeah.
Hopefully in the next couple of years, to ski actually would be
Yeah.
amazing to go there and
Mhm.
ski. Um,
Yeah.
so hopefully, fingers
Yeah.
crossed. Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
cool.
Wonderful.
And how about Japanese cheesecake versus like an
Mm.
American style cheesecake?
Um, yeah, I think I'm probably more American style, but I actually like something a little bit more in the middle. I usually make a cottage cheese cheesecake made with
Oh,
yogurt, so it's actually healthy.
oh,
Healthy cheesecake. Sign me
high
Oh
up.
yeah.
protein too.
Yeah, healthy cheesecake.
Yeah.
It's basically it's cottage cheese, eggs, Greek yogurt, and a little bit of sugar, and then you can add a little lemon or lime or vanilla
Mhm.
for flavor, and it bakes up really creamy, and its nutrition profile is similar to just vanilla Greek yogurt,
Oh, wow. That's in that.
even with a
Mm.
graham cracker crust. So
Okay.
yeah, we
Okay,
call it
that's a really
snacking
great idea.
cheesecake.
Huh.
I love it.
Very
Okay.
cool.
And you make
Nice.
it in a blender, so it's really
That's
easy.
easy.
Yeah, you would have to. You don't want lumpy cottage cheese in there.
No, definitely
No.
not. Yeah, so
Cottage cheese is
that's
amazingly
that's my
versatile.
cheesecake.
I love
Hmm.
it. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm excited. I've got to try that. All
totally.
right. Baking alone or baking with friends?
I like both.
Hmm.
Yeah, I definitely like both. I think if I am feeling creative and it's more about the artistic side, then definitely on my own because I
Yeah,
can, you know,
focus.
get into it and focus and do the decorating stuff. Um, the airbender cake I did sort of a painted landscape around it. And so that was something that, you wouldn't really do with other people.
Yeah.
But things like, doing Christmas cookie decorating, or my
Mhm.
sister-in-law used to host a gingerbread decorating party every year. That kind of
Right.
thing I absolutely love to do. And then, yeah, just doing little things with the kids. I think having kids has definitely helped me let go of more perfection
Mhm.
Mm,
in baking. And so that's helpful. Yeah. And makes it more
yeah.
fun to bake with other people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's so hard to bake with kids if you just want them to look really nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah,
just
you
bite
just
your
gotta,
tongue a lot. Yeah.
yeah, you do have to really let it go and
Yeah.
just let them have fun. And you could do your own like perfect little cookies if you wanted to, right? It's
Yeah.
like decorating sugar cookies with me, Lisa.
Her royal icing skills just need a little bit of
A
practice.
little work, a little work. I
Just
just
a
don't
little.
have
It's
the
not your
patience.
forte.
It's not my forte. I do a lot of other okay stuff and
Mhm.
I just don't have the patience for, the fine detaily work of sugar cookie decorating. I have mad respect for anybody who does that and there are lots of incredible cookiers out there, like Cookies by Beth. Did those cookies that she baked? She was at the
That she
audition,
baked for the
Vancouver.
show.
Oh,
The
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
ones, yeah.
Yes.
Oh my
Yes. Yeah.
goodness.
The perspective that she managed to get in the cookies was amazing.
Wasn't it just
Mhm.
So
beautiful?
many
And
different.
I was lucky to enjoy one of her cookies too.
Yeah.
It was delicious. It was
That's
unbelievable.
the
So
best part.
mad,
Oh,
mad, mad, mad talent.
I don't think
Amazing.
I got to eat one. I gave one to my cousin who I stayed with.
Oh,
Ah,
nice.
I sacrificed it for the
For
accommodations.
the greater
wow.
good.
Very
Yeah.
nice. Good trade. Good.
I think
Well,
so.
I mean, I think he got a good trade on that one, right?
Yeah.
Like he was well paid because that was an
Well,
incredible cookie.
it
So
really
They
was.
were very cool.
I don't do royal icing cooking very often, but don't look at me like that. It's true. But we did, my daughter and her mother-in-law and two sisters-in-law, they always invite me over for like Christmas cookie decorating, which I love being part of. And I was sitting beside my daughter's mother-in-law, and she kept like, she would do the icing and then she would put the bag down right on top of my wet cookies.
Oh,
And I was like, stop it! Just kind of shrieking at her a little bit. And I felt bad because they were not for anything except just to enjoy the time together.
yeah.
But I was like, Christina, I really enjoyed when we were doing it together because you didn't do that.
no, I
Ah.
just made a mess of my cookies and then
Okay.
ate them.
I
So
was
it was
okay
all
with
good.
that. Our last
Oh,
question is going to be a little bit different than the usual question that you get.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
So butter tarts,
Mm-hmm.
baking them or eating them?
Baking them.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I always test them when I bake them, because you got to make sure they're good.
Yeah,
But
quality control.
yeah, I really like baking them. I used to bake a lot of them because I had a
Hmm.
little market stand
Yeah.
called the
Butter
Tart
tart
Cart.
cart. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, the Tart Cart, I would make a lot of butter tarts and maybe 10 different kinds. So yeah, they're fun to make. Although I wouldn't recommend making that many.
How many
Unless
would
you
you
have a dough
make?
sheeter.
Like when you had your tart cart, how many dozens of butter tarts?
Most weeks. So I would just do a Saturday market. So Fridays I would make probably 12 dozen
Okay.
like that. And then if it was Christmas season, I
Mm,
think the most I made in one day was 25 or 30 dozen
yeah,
in a day.
A
So
lot.
yeah,
that's a
without a
lot.
dough sheeter, it's pretty hard on the hands.
Yes.
No kidding. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you make a lot of different varieties of butter tarts. So, do you
Yes.
have a favorite of the varieties that you make?
Um, Probably the Aloha, which is fresh pineapple and coconut.
Mm.
Yeah, anything, I sort of an ongoing theme, but anything that sort of balances out the sweetness, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Just a plain butter tart doesn't really work for me. So,
It's
Yeah.
very
So
sweet.
the acid of the pineapple,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
breaks it
Or my
down.
mom's favorite at Christmas is she makes because it's her grandmother's recipe that I use. So I have this like recipe card and it's like from 1942.
Oh,
Um,
I just love that.
That's
yeah. And so
awesome.
I don't know how old the recipe is, but my grandmother's mother-in-law gave her the recipe. And all her recipe cards say like 1942 from Hulda Brown. And it's really sweet. Yeah.
That
So
is, those
special.
are wonderful. Like when you
Yeah.
have those old family recipes that have been passed down from generation to generation, it's just
Mhm.
makes it that much extra special.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that part's fun. So my mom is the one who my grandmother made them and then my mom did, and she still makes them now and again. And so her favorite's just doing fresh cranberries with pecans. So then
Mm,
that's the same thing. It cuts the
Yeah,
sweetness a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah.
yeah.
Um, but when I sold them, there were lots of people that like chocolate butter tarts. So it was even
Mm,
extra richness.
yeah,
Oh,
So it just
yeah.
depended.
For
interesting.
some people, there's just no sweet is too sweet for
Mhm.
them,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
Like just it's all about if they're gonna indulge let's go for all the
Yeah.
sugar. So
Wow. Well, I like the idea of trying that because I have tasted your butter tarts. They are delicious. The ones that I got from when you had your little party for the premiere for the
Oh, yeah.
first episode of the Great Canadian Baking Show. And they were delicious, but I did not get to taste the Aloha one, and that sounds very intriguing to me. So one of these days, don't feel pressured, but
Okay.
if you happen to make some and you set one aside for me, I wouldn't be upset.
All right. I think at that one I made fresh raspberry with coconut,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is also a favorite. Yeah, it goes well. Because when you sprinkle the coconut on top at the last, it ends up like broiler icing on top.
Yes.
So
mhm.
it's very
That
tasty.
would be good.
Hmm.
So good. All right. Well, that's it for our this or that questions. So
Oof.
great.
Survived.
And we only
Wait.
disagreed on one, I think.
Yeah. She didn't give you too much of her active judgment face, but she just decided to let it go. Just like, all right.
It's all in the fun of the game, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just keeps
No
it
hard feelings.
interesting. No judgment. And like we say here all the time, right? I mean, there are no wrong answers. There
Hmm.
aren't. There aren't. Everybody has different taste profiles that
Hmm.
different things that they like, and that's perfect. That's great.
Yeah. I mean, truly, even when you're very, very adamant that they have answered incorrectly, you still say there's no wrong answers. So
Correct.
correct. No wrong answers.
No.
No wrong
Okay.
answers. No wrong answers.
No wrong answers. Well, Jen, do you have a baking scrap that you can pass on for our
Mm. Well,
listeners?
I think so. I think the last time I was here, I said to make things that you want to eat.
Mhm.
Yes.
Because I think that's really important because the best part about baking is to be able to bake things that you want to eat the way that you want to eat them.
Mhm.
Yes.
Um, I think I would add to that is to get honest feedback
Mm,
and to try lots of other baking.
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Because I think if you can, you can be in your own little vacuum and everyone's going to appreciate home baking. And
Mhm.
so I think if you want to improve your baking, really make sure you get honest feedback. And sometimes you need a bit of a thick skin. But
Yeah.
if it's all in the interest of making things that are even tastier, then it can't hurt, right? So I
Right.
think doing that and then trying lots of other people's baking.
Mhm.
Um, and it doesn't mean like if you're trying, the best bakery in town, it doesn't mean that you're going to like everything that they bake,
Hmm.
but it can give you some idea of what you might want to bake or things that you might want to incorporate into your own baking or
Hmm.
things that you really don't like. Like I think um, a lot of bakeries underbake things. Right?
Mhm.
I'm definitely on the side of, more brown is more flavor
Hmm.
side of things. And so anything that looks a little bit anemic is not really something that I want to try.
Yeah.
Um, so it's finding the things that you like and then trying to incorporate that into your baking, but you can't do that if you don't try other baking.
Right.
Yeah.
And recognizing what
Very
other
true.
people like as well, and that it's not always going to be the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, totally. And yeah, just sort of develop that palate and what does something taste like when it's well balanced?
Hmm.
Because it might be something you've always eaten and then you might try it done a different way. Like,
Hmm.
oh, this is really good. And why have I not been doing it this way all along?
Yeah.
So
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
No,
it's
great,
like,
great
it's
piece
like
of
when people
advice.
discovered browned butter, right?
Hmm.
Oh, yes.
Cookies were good before we had browned butter, but
Are
now
they
they
better
taste.
now?
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
100%.
Yeah, the artificial versus the real vanilla. It's just,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
All
yeah, I
those
guess that's my baking
levels.
scrap. It's not really a baking tip, but
No, but
yeah.
it's great words of wisdom and I think important
Yeah,
as
we
well. I
appreciate
think,
it.
yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
That's awesome. And the Great Canadian Baking Show season is kind of almost here again, where there's going
Mhm.
to be a new batch of bakers being
Yeah.
chosen over the next little bit. Any advice for them, new people that are going to be heading to the tent for season 9?
I think really soak up the experience while you're there. Um, I know I said because am so clumsy and whatnot, I had to be really focused like on, practicing and that kind of thing. So I didn't get to soak up as much time with the other bakers as I would have liked.
Mhm.
So I think definitely soak up the time that you're there. I think um, be open to just whatever the experience brings
Mhm.
because um, it's going to happen regardless, whether you embrace it or not. So just be open to it and embrace it. And I think remember that you get chosen because you're a good baker. And so um, I think everyone gets there like, oh, I don't know how am I going to do? How did I practice enough? I don't know enough. And all those things. And so just remember that the casting team is really good
Mhm.
and they've chosen you for a good reason. And when you're developing your recipes, be strategic
Hmm.
because you're baking with a time limit. And so I think that's
Yes.
one of the biggest things is that I struggled with was struggling with having sort of an artistic vision and sometimes getting stuck in that versus being the most strategic to make sure it was as successful as
Yeah.
possible. And so
Mhm.
I would
Mhm.
say you can be as artistic as you want at home, but if you want to get to try everything in the tent,
Mhm.
which was my goal, then you need to be strategic. So yeah,
Um,
I don't know. Hopefully that helps.
No, I'm sure it does. And I'm sure the new batch of bakers that are going to be heading to that tent this year will be incredible, amazing, and I can't
Mhm.
wait for
Mhm.
this next season. And so I think your words are spot on, and hopefully people who do get the opportunity to be in that tent for season 9 take all of that experience in and just enjoy it. And yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, just know that you're part of a very elite group of bakers and incredible people who
Mhm.
get to do that. So
Really
yeah,
a once in a lifetime experience. Yeah.
totally.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, and for all those people that might be disappointed, because there will be many more of those,
Yeah. We don't
after
know
the
that
whole,
at all, do we?
No,
no,
never
yeah,
felt
I
that
have
way.
no experience with that at all. Uh, I think just also remember that you got to apply and you got to audition and you got to think about why you love to bake.
Mhm.
And so really soak up that as
Yeah.
well, even if
Yeah.
you're disappointed that you don't get to be in the tent. I think everyone who applies and auditions is still in the big baking family, even if it is at the kids' table. So
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll
There's nothing
happily
wrong
sit
with
at the
being at the
kids'
kids'
table.
table.
It
kids' table's fun.
Yes.
is
It's
so
way
much
less
fun.
stressful.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
If
no
only we
doubt.
didn't have to do the cleanup and it would really be the
Right?
kids' table. That would be great. But
Yeah.
well, thank you so much for being here with us today, Jen. I'm
Thank you.
really glad we got to have a one-on-one conversation and looking forward to seeing what you do next and hearing more of your stories and you know, cheering on your tenant downstairs also, because that's
Yes.
pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's very cool. Well,
Yeah,
thank you guys for inviting me. This is a lot of fun.
of
Yeah,
course. Thank
awesome.
you. Have a
Good to
great rest
see
of your
you.
day. Yeah, so good to see
Thanks.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you too.
Talk
Thanks.
soon.
Bye.
Bye.
I am so glad that we had a chance to catch up with Jen again. It's been a few months since we recorded our finale show for
Yes.
the Canadian Baking Show season 8.
Yeah.
So it was really lovely to reconnect with her and learn a little bit more about her and
Yeah.
all of the great things that she does.
Yeah, she's great. I really enjoy her. I enjoy spending time with her. I enjoyed watching her, and I'm really glad that the two of you got to meet in person at the open casting call for the
Mhm.
Canadian Baking Show season 9. Crazy that we're actually in season 9.
I know.
But
Isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah. So I was really glad that you got to connect with her, and that it just makes it a little bit different when we're doing the podcast together.
Mhm. Yeah,
I got
absolutely.
I got weirdly nervous though. Did that come across?
Not at all. Not at all. I
It
think it
was a
was
strange feeling. Like, oh,
no, you were great as always, Lisa. So
thanks.
no
You
worries.
too,
And you know
buddy.
what? I mean, that's just authentically, who we are, right? So
Yeah.
we're authentically who we are all the time. And yeah, so sometimes
Some
it's
people will like it and some people will hate it. And
right. And and I don't think, it is what it is. And
yeah,
we're not perfect. We're not perfect human beings, but we try to, just
Take it as it comes, and like Jen says,
Exactly.
you just gotta pivot when things go wrong.
Exactly. So there you go.
You like that segue? Did you like that
Perfect.
I brought it back?
Perfect segue. Perfect
Thanks.
segue. And yeah, and that's essentially what it is, right? It's about doing the best you can under the circumstances and making sure you've got buffer or backup plans or, are okay with things not being exactly 100% of what you had in mind
Yeah,
for
definitely.
and taking it all in for whatever
Yes.
it's worth.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was lovely talking with Jen, and I'm glad that we got to have a little bit more time to focus on her because it was a very busy episode last time with the three of them.
Mhm.
It was wonderful. I'm so glad that we got the chance to talk to all three of them. But yeah, a little more focused and learning more about her kids and her
Mhm.
rock star husband and her
Her
skiing and
family.
crafting and her family and all that. So that was really great. And the Christmas tradition, I gotta say,
Love
I
it.
really like how they pivoted there.
Same here. Same
Yeah,
here. I
yeah.
think that would be maybe that inspires other families to do something similar this coming Christmas. Because I think over the years, it does get very commercialized.
Hmm.
And it is kind of nice to take it back to the true meaning, which is about getting together with your friends, your family, the important people in your life, and sharing some good food, sharing those great laughs,
Yeah.
and that homemade touch. I think is
Yes,
always
definitely.
it means so much more than
Yeah, and
simply
not
going out and
spending
picking up a gift card.
exactly, and not spending 3 hours watching people open presents. Like, shouldn't be what it's all about. So,
That's so true. That's so true. Yeah,
so
there
much more
really.
thought and emotions
Mhm.
and all that intention goes into
Yeah.
it when you do it the way that her family ended up doing it. It's
Yeah,
great. So
absolutely. But yeah,
yeah,
I am really glad we got that 2-on-1 time with
2-on-1.
Jen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me too.
2-on-1
It was
time.
great. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for being here, buddy.
Thanks. Well, did I have a choice?
Nope,
No,
you
I
never
didn't
have a
think
choice.
so. Never have it.
If you are not here,
But
there's no show.
wouldn't want to be anywhere else but here with you and speaking to all the incredible guests that we have the privilege and honor to chat with every episode. So,
Agreed.
I mean, like I said, I've said this before. I pinch myself every time we have one of these conversations
I know.
because
I know.
just
It's
yeah,
wonderful. I'm so grateful.
it is.
So grateful. And I get to
Same.
see you soon.
I
So
know,
that's
and this
even
is nice
better.
because we get to see each other here as well, which is
Mhm.
always a pleasure.
It's true. I'm
So.
really glad I get to hang out with you. All right, buddy. I'll see you next time. And to everybody out there, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we really look forward to seeing you next time.
We do. Happy
Happy
baking.
baking.